On this worksheet, I'm going to choose just a few problems for you to try out and identify the slope and the y-intercept using the equation. And then you're going to use the answer key linked in your assignment doc to check the rest of the answers. So the first thing that I want to start with is number 1, and I want to point out, as we saw from that previous practice sheet, that our slope is always going to be the coefficient of x. So in this case, the invisible number that's multiplying x is 1. And my y-intercept is going to be that number that's being added or subtracted on the end. So in this case, my y-intercept would be 4. If you look at, say, for example, number 5, my coefficient of x, the number in front that's being multiplied, would be 1. And since there's no number that's being added or subtracted, I can think of it as 0, because I could actually think of that as y equals 1x plus 0. The next example I'm going to go to is example 18, so this is on the back side of your sheet. And one thing I want to point out, and you can actually see here, like for example 13, 14, 15, and 16, they all have y already isolated, which is why we're so easily able to identify the slope and the y-intercept. But you'll see on examples 17 and 18, y is not isolated. So that's actually going to be my first job. So on example 18, I have 6x plus 3y equals 6. And so to isolate y, we've done this before. I'm going to move things to the other side. I'm going to start by minusing 6x. So I get 3y equals 6 minus 6x. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. This is where, if you remember, the beans come into play. So 6 divided by 3 would be 2. And then minus, here I also have 6 divided by 3. This one just has an x attached to it, which is x. So now that y is isolated, I can identify my slope and my y-intercept. My slope is still always the number that's in front of x. So in this case, my slope would be -2. My y-intercept is going to be that other number that's either adding or subtracting on at the end. And so in this case, my y-intercept would be +2. One last example that I want to point out is actually just back on the front. Something just copied funny, so pop back over to the front to see what this is about. So the last little piece of information here is that on slide number 9, on your copy, 9 is kind of bumped to the side, and you'll see this equation is actually down here, so it looks kind of funny. So I just want to point out that number 7 is y equals 3/4 x minus 2, and that number 9 should actually be y equals -1/2 x. You're going to finish this sheet, pause the video to do so, and then go to the assignment doc to open the answer key and check your answers before moving on to the notes on graphing using slope-intercept form.